Hello everybody, welcome back. And today we're gonna speak about the esports, but esports from a bit different angle, as from the career point of view. As today is the guest is the Richard Huggan, the managing director at Hitmarker, incredibly successful startup, I have to say. So welcome, Richard, and thank you for joining us here today.
Hi, Simona. It's good to be here. It's nice to talk for the first time, and I'm ready for some tough questions. So let's go.
Exactly. I'm pretty thrilled to have you here because you are incredibly, let's say successful about what you are doing. And, more people needs to know about that. So can you give us a brief background on how Hitmarker came to where it is today as the really world's leading video gaming and esports career site, and how you maybe got yourself personally into this project?
Yeah, of course. So Hitmarker, it's still very early days. I think really we have been in existence now for 3.5 years officially as a company, but like the first 6 months, maybe even the first 2 years of that was us working very, very hard to establish the business for very little money. The guys ran the business as a volunteer project at the beginning, like I think so many esports projects do. They brought me on 6 months after it was founded to be managing director to try and find us a nice office space somewhere to become more professional and start building the business. Since I joined in November, we hired our 5th person in March, then 6th in April, 7th in May, and kind of stayed around that level for a little while. We are now a company of 10 people with 2 advisors, so getting bigger, but slowly getting bigger, not going crazy. So while you say we're really successful, I still think we are on the path to becoming really successful. We're maybe not there quite yet. My own history is in traditional sport rather than esports, but I have always loved games. I've played games from, well, really for as long as I can remember. So I've been very lucky to work in 2 industries now that I'm very, very passionate about, but still learning about esports every single day and learning about all the different teams and players and games. It's been a very enjoyable but very challenging 3 years, but very good for the most part.
Yeah, let's say that industries, and the ecosystem is still developing, but and in what it is now, you quite build a name for yourself, I have to say it. And I'm quite sure that everyone would like to know geographically, where are you seeing most opportunities right now?
Yeah, so what we had hoped with COVID and everything crazy that's going on in the world is that we would really see a big shift towards full-time remote employment in esports. I think just today, Reddit was one of the next big tech companies to announce that its team can now work 100% remote, and they will receive the same salary as if they were working from San Francisco or New York, which to me is fantastic. And really, I do think that's the future. I do think that esports and video games has maybe been a little bit slow to adopt to that model, because I think gaming studios and esports teams and organizations in particular, the culture element of working for a company like that is so huge that they want everyone to be together and to be a part of it, especially when there's the team involved. So I do kind of understand it, but still we see currently that the USA, even throughout the pandemic, we had a small dip in March and April, where for the first time in a very long time, the numbers of jobs actually went down rather than up. But since May, the USA has been climbing, and is still, for us, by far the biggest area for jobs. Within that, California remains really dominant. In 2019, over half of all of the jobs that we posted on Hitmarker were in California, if you can believe that. So California state had more jobs than any other country in the world. It had more jobs than the rest of the USA. So California is still really where it's at. But it's probably important to mention that Hitmarker really does very little with the Chinese market, with the Japanese market, with the South Korean market, because we are limited by English language, so we don't really have access to those markets. I do believe that if we did have access to the Asian markets, maybe we would see a lot more opportunities over in Japan and South Korea, and China seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Maybe that's something for the future though.
Exactly, but it's obvious that the US is dominating. But when it comes to the future, do you think that Europe will ever catch up on the US dominance? Because that's what we all wishing for here in Europe.
It's the same here. I think the UK has been growing slowly as it comes to esports. I still think in the UK where we are based, there are very, very few companies who support full-time employees and have big teams of people. And unfortunately, in the last year or two, we've had LVP have moved operations out of the UK. ESL have downsized their operations here in the UK. So I don't think it's been especially positive for the UK over the last 2 or 3 years. And I don't think Brexit helps, and I think it will probably become more difficult for us in the future because we are going to be more and more isolated from the rest of Europe. As far as mainland Europe goes, we definitely, since we moved from being an esports jobs website, which was just esports, to being a general video game website, we do see that there are lots of opportunities in Spain in particular. Madrid and Barcelona, as you would probably expect, seem to have a really good industry for video game developers and video game studios and designers. And Germany has always been very strong. Berlin tends to be where the majority of jobs are in Germany. We see a lot of those jobs because they are posted in both English and German. I think Spain and Germany are the two biggest improving countries, in terms of the volume of opportunities available. And Sweden and Netherlands used to be really, really good because Sweden has lots of CSGO teams, lots of CSGO players. 2 or 3 years ago, we would have lots and lots of jobs from Sweden, but for whatever reason, that seems to be like the UK, maybe going a little bit down rather than up. And the same for the Netherlands as well. We used to have lots of opportunities in Amsterdam and even in a few different cities around the Netherlands, but it becomes less and less. Maybe this is because we now focus on a much bigger marketplace, so they feel smaller in comparison because they don't have so many game studios and game developers there. But even esports wise, I think the pandemic has had a negative impact on every country, including the USA, when it comes to esports jobs, because so many jobs rely on live events. And you know yourself how many jobs a single live event can create in terms of people who are needed for production, for running of the event by being stewards or people who handle the cloakroom or look after the players or do the backstage stuff. So the lack of events this year has been a big problem. I think when events come back, we'll get back on track with seeing esports jobs in every country getting bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes by.
Yes, and even we not even talk about all this investment which went to the all the venues, the esports venues all over the world. So yeah, definitely we're gonna have to wait for those events to come back, but we don't know when. But talking about geographical aspect, what about demand on the skills, knowledge, or experience? You worked with really big names and the brands in the past. So what about this demand?
So it's interesting. Back when we first started 3 years ago, people liked Hitmarker just because they could come to the website and they knew that they would always find someone who was passionate about esports and really understood the industry. And still for lots of companies, even in the higher levels, they love to find people who understand what esports is. They have some investment in terms of they follow a specific game or a specific team or a specific player. So they kind of get the whole scene. But what we are finding now is that the more and more investment that comes into the space and the bigger the space becomes, there's very few people in the world who have been with esports for 10 years, 5 years even, because it's such a new, fast-growing industry. Most of those people already have very good jobs or very good positions, or they've created their own brands. So it's very hard to find people who have both the esports knowledge and experience and the technical skills that you talk about in terms of the different positions. So the pattern that we are seeing more and more, it used to be that main people that used Hitmarker were people who are fresh out of high school, fresh out of college, who are just kind of like, I love esports so much, can I get any kind of job in esports? Don't care what the pay is. I don't care how many hours I have to work. I just want to get into it. It's now flipping to where we still have a lot of those people because I think so many people just love the industry. But more and more and more, we get inbound requests and emails and messages from people who work in traditional sport, especially through COVID, because traditional sport has had such a bad time with their live events being cancelled. We had lots of people who were senior in business development, in marketing, lots of those kind of customer facing roles that were looking to try and make the transition to esports because everything they see about esports is positive and it's good and it's growing fast and it's getting bigger. So now our main request from users tends to be, how do I make a jump from this industry into esports, rather than being, how do I get into esports as a first-time job as a new graduate? It's getting much, much harder, though, to get into esports in any significant capacity, because the demand is so high and people so badly want to work for this industry. And especially they so badly want to work for like a really small group of companies like Cloud9, 100 Thieves, Team Liquid. This is just a super small group. And there are only so many jobs to go around for the people that are super passionate about those teams. So the people doing the hiring can have very high expectations in terms of the technical skills that they ask for. So we still see a lot of listings that ask for multiple years of experience, specializing in business development, software development, marketing, team building, leadership, all of this good stuff. But it's a good thing, I think, because the more high-skilled people that come into esports, hopefully the better the industry will be and the faster it will grow. The problem that we have, though, now at the moment is that the industry is very top-heavy, where there are lots and lots of opportunities for people who have 3, 4, 5 years of good technical experience, but there are very few opportunities at the lower end to build the pipeline to get people to start with an entry-level job. Again, pandemic hasn't helped. My hope for the future is that when the orgs have built their senior teams out and they've started to find paths to revenue and they've started to grow their revenues and become more stable in terms of businesses, we will then start to see many more internship opportunities, like real places to go and learn and do a real summer internship when you're a student, work experience opportunities for people over here in Europe. And this will start to build a pipeline of grassroots talent that can make long careers in esports for many years ahead. We aren't there yet, though, unfortunately, not yet.
Exactly. But, talking about, the graduated students, Hitmarker has been helping university students enter the video game and the esports industry in the UK through the partnership with the National University Esports League, right? So can you tell us a bit more about that and how is that going? Because it's a great initiative for sure.
Yeah, we wanted this year. So you know yourself, when you set up your own business at the beginning, you have no time for anything else. Everything you do is to grow the business and is to try and establish the business so people can come to you and they learn about you and maybe you acquire some users. So for the first 2.5, 3 years of our life, that was everything. We all worked very, very hard to try and get the brand into the public as much as possible. But this year, we realized that for the first time with 10 staff, we might have some opportunities to start giving back to the community in some way. So we set up different partnerships with the Newell, the National University Esports League that you talked about, with the British Esports Association, with other non-profits like the Thousand Dreams Fund, which gives scholarships to women in America who are looking to break into the gaming industry. Lots of other partnerships like this. But the university one in particular is very close to our hearts here because it's focused on UK universities. I was obviously a UK university student 10 years ago now. I hate to admit that, but it's true. And a lot of other people in our team have been university students and were involved in university esports. So it's such an easy partnership for us because we understand the challenges that the students in the UK face. Lots of them will be involved with esports societies. They will play for esports teams, either intramural or they'll play against other universities. But in the UK versus the US, there really isn't a pipeline to go from being kind of an amateur level semi-pro gamer where you could build enough recognition to become a professional. It's very different to the US in the UK. So doing something with the Newell it's more about reaching students to educate them that there are many other opportunities for them in the esports industry other than just being a player or even just other than being a coach. So we're going to work with the Newell to put on, I think it's going to be this year, 6 workshops in total, which will be totally free to attend. And we'll try and get experts from different parts of the UK industry to talk about production and psychology and marketing and business development and sales and all of that good stuff, so that the students can hear from multiple different perspectives about people who have made some progress in their career journey. And hopefully they can take some inspiration from those people and being able to ask them questions and hearing about their story. And additionally, we're also going to be producing written content with the Newell, which will be more focused around how do I do kind of my esports CV and my esports cover letter? Is there anything special that I need to know to apply to jobs in the esports industry? because our industry is a little bit different to most, right? In
Yeah.
terms of that, it's very new, lots of young people. We don't necessarily do everything in kind of the traditional way when it comes to the recruitment process. So it's about us being able to bring the knowledge that we have gained in the last 3.5 years and the network that we have built to bring that knowledge and those people together to tell those stories and to give that advice to the students. So hopefully when it comes time for them to graduate, they'll have gained some esports experience and then they'll be ready to apply. Hopefully in 2 or 3 years when COVID is long gone and the job market is back to being healthy again, yes, they can kind of get the jobs that are going to be coming available in the UK. And I would used to be able to say in Europe as well, because it would have been totally free for them to move anywhere in Europe to work. But we don't know what that's going to look like in 3 years, unfortunately.
Exactly. But, while we were talking about the students, do you think that the educational institutions and the government are providing enough support for young people to actually aiming to enter these industries? And what do you think it could be, done better?
Definitely not is the answer, if you want a totally honest answer. The problem we have now in the UK is that when I was a student 10 years ago, a long time ago, it used to cost us around £3,000 per year to study, which was very cheap. And you had lots of support from the government if you came from a low income family to support you through university. So the government would give you student loans with very small interest rates. And basically everyone in my school, which was just a normal working class school, nothing special at all, in kind of a mixed area of like middle class people and working class people. And everyone in our class from my graduation year was strongly encouraged to go to university to study what they could. And everyone knew that they would have financial support from the government to do that. So that was a very common thing. I'm guessing it's still the same now, but the problem we have is that it costs up to £9,500 per year for a student to study. So obviously, if you're doing a 3-year course, you're looking at almost £30,000 to get a degree these days, which is it's much, much more money than the £9,000 that I would have paid 10 years ago. So what's happened is that the universities are now making a lot of money from every single student that registers to go to their university. So we are seeing courses in esports and in other disciplines popping up that probably aren't taught by people really qualified to teach them, who are going to end up with hundreds and hundreds of graduated students who do not have an established industry here in the UK to walk straight into a job. It's just impossible because there just aren't enough jobs in the UK. Say if 200 people graduate next June it would be, there's no way that there are going to be 200 open full-time UK esports jobs for them to go into. And my concern is that some of the universities might be selling kind of an impossible dream to the students to get them on the courses. And then the problem is that I think the universities realize really that there isn't that much of an industry here. So not many of them do enough to support the students while they're at university in terms of getting a real internship. I'm not talking about doing like volunteer work from a bedroom for some org that has 200 followers on Twitter and really isn't going to teach you anything. There are, as far as I'm aware, not any, if not many, genuine internship opportunities at UK-based companies who do something in esports, which will give students like really solid, good practical experience that they can have on their CV and which will be very useful to them when it comes to them applying for jobs in the real world. And that just doesn't exist. And obviously we exist as Hitmarker. I think all of the universities are very familiar with us. I can count on 1 or 2 fingers how many of those universities have approached us to ask, can you help us with finding internships for our students? So either they don't care or they haven't thought about it, or they're just kind of happy that they've got hundreds of students paying 9,500 per head per year to go to university. And then what comes after maybe isn't their problem, which is a shame. But again, this happens when you get a new exciting industry that becomes established and everyone wants a piece of it. But I think, the support really isn't there. But it was the same for me. When I went to study, I studied what was considered quite a new degree in a new discipline at that time. And while there were a handful of opportunities to get a good internship while being a student, luckily I was able to take one of those. for the amount of students we had on the course, there weren't enough even then. So I guess nothing's really changed in the time between when I was a student and when the guys and girls are students now. But what I will say is that if any student is watching this and feels like they don't have any support from their university, either set up and do something yourself, like Simona has, like we have here at Hitmarker, because that is as good experience as you could possibly get, like trying to start your own brand and doing your own thing. Rely on your network and on social media to try and reach out to people who you see are professionals in the industry local to where you live. Most people are very friendly. You'll find that if you can reach them and you ask about even like, can I do a 4-week placement or some work experience, you might be pleasantly surprised about what you can get out of them. And obviously us at Hitmarker are always available, I think 7 days a week for anybody who has any questions or concerns or would like any help kind of getting into the industry. But very long answer, Simona, sorry, but ultimately it was a good question, and the sad answer is that no, I don't think the universities are doing enough.
Actually, you answered my another question, which was actually what would be actually your advice for anyone who tried to enter this industry. And I really love what are you doing at your YouTube channel, and I really encourage everyone to go to check your channel, because you actually say the stories, the success stories of the people who already got the job, who are the professionals within the industry, and they are really honestly and very friendly way suggest to people how to get into industry, that you actually have to create the opportunity for yourself. Because then at the moment, unfortunately, there is not like that much the job opportunities that everyone, all graduated students could just enter the industry because they like to play the games, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's true. Yeah, you have to. So if nobody is going to help you, and if nobody from your university or from the government or from anywhere is going to help you to do it, then you have to find people that are going to help you. And that will typically be either people who are already working in the industry, your friends or colleagues on the courses that you study. We were talking there just about setting up and doing something yourself, but it could be much more powerful grouping together with some other students in your class who have different skills. What we always it was at the beginning of Hitmarker, we were fortunate because we had somebody who was a designer / developer. So we had somebody who could code and build platforms and do all of the design work. They had somebody who could do the sales and business side of the process to get people to come and use the platform. I was there to be the content and social media person to kind of do the outreach and build the brand. So that was ultimately Hitmarker was started with 4 friends before me even, who had different skills, who used those different skills to offer different things to the business. It's very, very hard to do anything completely by yourself. So if you have friends, colleagues interested in esports who could dedicate some time to getting something off the ground, and you have a good idea, even if it's just to start a team or it's to produce something else that you think is needed in the industry, but that doesn't exist. Having worked for other people and having now worked for myself, I would strongly, strongly advise trying to build something for yourself if possible.
And what you are passionate about, right? Because that's actually that's all we need, because it's still it's emerging industry, and the ecosystem is just creating. So we all need to be also kind of patient with when it comes to this industry. So, but what does the future hold for the Hitmarker? Tell me, what's your short-term and long-term strategies? Can you tell us a bit?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good time to talk, actually, because if you remember last year, you guys helped us by promoting the fact that we were doing the equity crowdfunding raise, which was kind of a risky thing to do. We don't know anybody who's got a lot of money. We didn't really have anyone lined up who was going to come in and put like £50,000, no problem. It just wasn't going to happen.
I know you were so excited. I remember it.
No, it was it was nervous at the beginning, very nervous. So what happened last year, just to give a bit of story, was that Hitmarker had reached a point where it was a profitable company for 3 months in a row, which it might not sound like much, but as an esports startup that was completely self-funded from the beginning, it was quite a big milestone for us to reach 3 months where we were profitable. And on the back of that, we had a decision to make. It was maybe just like, we can stay at this size and stay quite small and make enough money just to kind of pay everyone's salary and to pay for the nice office that we have and to pay for everything else that goes into running a business. Or we could go down a more aggressive route and try and raise some money so that we can go out and hire 5 more people to double the size of the team. We can spend more money on marketing. The plan was this year that we were going to be attending BlizzCon and TwitchCon, and we were going to be over in the US many times to go to all these different events, maybe even E3. Obviously, everything was cancelled, so that didn't happen. Maybe next year. So the idea was we will finally have some money to get more people in the team that we need. We will have some money to do marketing, to get the brand in front of more people and to grow the business. So that was the decision we made. And it was a risky decision to go live on Crowdcube over here in the UK, which is an equity crowdfunding platform like Republic. If you're based in the US, it's very similar. And if you are based in the US and interested, you can't invest in Hitmarker because we're a British company, but Juked, who are another very cool esports startup, have a live campaign over on Republic at the minute, and you can invest in those guys. And they've already raised a ton of money. So hopefully we are going to do this a second time, because the first time the money was only ever intended to last us around 12 to 14 months, so a year or a little bit over a year. It's going to last around that much because we've kind of hit all the targets that we had financially. So the plan now is to raise a second time, much, much bigger. And hopefully this will be the last time, because it takes lots and lots of work from everyone in the team to prepare for the campaign. And then you have to go out, like what we say here in the UK is you go out cap in hand, like begging people, like, can you please invest in Hitmarker? It's not very nice, really.
Yeah, the pitching yourself is never that nice.
No, it's not fun. It's not fun. But that's the next plan, because we think, since we moved from esports into gaming, it's made our market much, much bigger. So Hitmarker has gone from having 1,000 jobs to 10,000 jobs in 1 year. So it's a very big increase. And we think that the English language limitation that I talked to you about earlier, it's a big barrier for us in terms of future growth, because if we can't access Asia, which is such a huge, fast-growing market for esports and games, it's crazy. Yeah. And we currently, if you imagine, we just have no visibility, because I can't understand Japanese or simplified Chinese. I don't understand those languages. We need to go and build platforms in those languages for Japanese and Chinese people, run by Japanese and Chinese people who we will use the investment to hire. And we think that we can build hitmarker.jp, hitmarker.cn, and we will have a network of Hitmarker websites, all intended to serve very specific audiences. That is our big, big mission for the next 2 years. We want to roll out up to 10 localized native language platforms in the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. And we think if we are able to do that, then maybe the next time we talk, I will let you say Hitmarker is very big and very successful, because for now I still think we are on the journey, but there's still a long way to go. So that's the mission. We'll be going live in early December on Crowdcube, which is a UK platform. Anybody from anywhere except the USA, Canada, and Japan is allowed to invest. So you could invest if you're in Brazil or Mexico or India, or we had investment last time from Kenya and Zimbabwe and Dubai, if you can believe that. It's so global, and it's only £10 minimum investment. So it's not like you need to be rich to be able to invest. Every investor owns their own little piece of Hitmarker. Every investor has equal rights, regardless of whether they invest £10 or £10,000. And you will join our exclusive investor Discord community, which is only a few hundred people now. So you will have like access to the Hitmarker management team and everyone, so you can give us your ideas for the platform and how you would like to see things grow. But yeah, Simona, that's the next big challenge for us. That's what I'm working on every single day. That's why I look so tired. But after this, I think that our future is just more languages, more jobs, improve the platform so you can do much more on the platform. I think the platform now is very easy to use and people understand it very well, but it needs to have more features. So we want to add things where you can send and receive messages to companies on there, so you can understand kind of, did you receive my application? Can I have any feedback if it was negative or if I got rejected? We want to have the functionality in future to be able to comment on job descriptions and to be able to review companies, so that if companies are perhaps behaving badly, which I think unfortunately happens in esports, we will have somewhere where users can flag this up as like a Glassdoor type thing, where you can leave reviews for the company and the culture, which I think esports it's very badly missing at the moment, and it's very difficult to see how companies operate on a professional level. So maybe we want to bring that into play. And then further down the line in the future, our idea is hopefully that within Hitmarker as a website or an app, you will be able to do video interviews like we are doing today. So if Simona, if you are hiring someone for your news team, you would just be able to log into the Hitmarker platform. You'll see all of their information, and you could schedule an interview with them inside of the platform and hold the interview within the platform. So basically, you don't need to use Zoom and 100 different things to speak to people. So that is the mission for the next 2 or 3 years. We think it's going to be successful again this time, but we want to make sure that we work as hard as we did last year, just to make sure that we leave nothing to chance this time.
Exactly. I mean, genius and excellent ideas for a better user experience, and I think it's kind of needed because, you know, for esports industry, those all people who are interested to work kind of have a barrier in front of themselves. They don't really know how those esports companies are operating, what kind of the culture, environment, or how it is to be, because it's not just about the work you're gonna do. What kind of the culture is there, and what kind of the people are in this company. So it's definitely a cool idea. And, you know, Richard, thank you so much for being here today and sharing the insights. I believe very interesting ones. And we're going to keep it up with you. Hopefully next year, exactly this time, you're going to have some Asian investors to talk about.
Hopefully, we'll see. And hopefully lots of Japanese, Chinese, and users from different places. Yeah, it's going to be a big move. But yeah, we'll speak to you again and again. We'll see where we've got to then.
Richard, thank you again, and have a nice evening.
You too, Simona. Thank you.
Ciao.